Oh, 'tis me, Nicholas of Hennigan. Welcome to another edition of Literary London on Resonance 104.4 FM. Flippin' marvellous. Also, of course, we're on bohemianbritain.com and you can see us in vision. Yeah, you can see me sticking my head in the corner of the screen. I'm joined by two beautiful talents. I'll move out of the way. I hope you can hear me all right. I'd like to introduce two actors, Greg Snowden and Juliet Ibberson. Hello.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking, well, it's obviously we're going to be talking about a fantastic literary event, which is happening in London, because this is, of course, Literary London. I must say hello to Kath from California as well, by the way. Kath from California. I'll see if I can find that poem for you next week. So Kath from California is a regular listener.
Awesome.
She always tells us she listens by the sea, by the Pacific.
Oh,
nice.
jealous.
Yeah. I think she's trying to make us a bit jealous. But
Jealous
anyway.
by the Thames.
Yeah, well, you can't beat the Thames, can you?
Smell it, Thames.
Absolutely, which is marvellous. So we're here to talk a little bit about this play, written by a marvellous man. No, it's mine, my play, called A Ghost of a Chance, which I actually did 27 years ago, I think it was. And we're doing it again at the Tabard Theatre, which is in Bath Road in Chiswick in West London. And these are the stars. So, the show's about a bloke who's really down on his luck, and then one night he has an opportunity to put everything right, but there's a bit of a cost attached to that. Have I said that right? That's kind of clear.
Yeah, no spoilers.
Yeah, no, not too many spoilers. But of course, so Juliet is playing a 14-year-old girl and a 1,000-year-old entity.
Yeah.
And Bob's just down on his luck.
I'm just playing Bob.
Playing Bob. So, I mean, how have you found... I mean, because you've both been acting for a while, haven't you?
Yeah.
So where did you start acting? Because you're not from these parts, eh? When I say these parts, you're not from London.
No. So I'm from a place called Nelson, which is in Lancashire, just next door to Burnley. And that's where I went to school. That's where I started doing amateur acting stuff, and just always loved it. And then when I was 19, I went to drama school, got into RADA, came down to London when I was 19, graduated when I was 22, and I've been working as an actor in London ever since.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
And what about yourself, Juliet?
Well, I'm from Sheffield originally, so another northerner. And yeah, same. I started doing acting with like local Amdram groups. Since I was really small, to be honest. I think both my parents used to do Amdram, so I got brought along since I could walk and talk, really. And then I went to University of Birmingham.
Yay!
Yeah.
Britain's second city. Yeah, I just thought I'd get that in.
Yeah. Because I felt like, everyone told me I had to do a proper degree. So I did that, but then I still really wanted to do acting. So then I went and did a master's in acting at East 15. And then, graduated around COVID, so that wasn't much fun, but here I am. Yeah,
no, that must be a terrible time for performing arts generally, it was, wasn't it? And so tell us a little bit about what you're doing now in this in this production.
Yeah, go on, I'll go first.
Yeah.
Well, we've just finished rehearsals, really, so we've just had 3 weeks of rehearsals. I would say intense, but they've not been massively intense. We've just been doing kind of afternoons into evenings. We've finished. We've just done a run through. We did a run through at around 12:30, and it went very well. But we've isolated the bits that still need work. So then Juliet and I have just been working through those bits this afternoon, and then we get into the theatre on Sunday, technical rehearsal Monday, dress rehearsal Tuesday, and the play opens Wednesday night.
Hooray!
Under a week.
Yes, in 6 days' time.
And how are you feeling about it, Juliet?
Yeah, good.
I guess it's quite difficult as well. So you're playing a girl and this kind of monster. That must be kind of interesting. In terms
It's definitely hard to balance. There's a few layers on it. It's not like I am playing two different characters, but it's one character in the other's body. So there's still an element of that first character there. So I think it's hard to kind of get that balance of still having like an element of Tammy and her body and her movements whilst having Luke, this other character. And then there's another added layer of when Luke pretends to be Tammy. So yeah, it's quite interesting finding those kind of layers to it and the differences between the two characters.
And is it a horror show? Or rephrase that. Is it a domestic drama? Is it a scary show?
I think it's quite, it's nice because it's all kind of set in one location and there's only two actors, so it's quite nice to have the play rely more on the actual action rather than, you know, the scenery or anything like that. You know, it's quite nice to just be able to focus on this one moment in time, I think.
Yeah.
And how have you found the process of theatre generally? I mean, because it's a tradition. Everyone says, "Oh, theatre, 98% unemployment." I mean, on a general, broader picture, how have you found life? I suppose as actors.
Wow, what a question! Yeah, go on.
I mean, it's very up and down, I guess. Like, you have highs and you have lows, and I think for me, it's finding things that you enjoy and keep you kind of fulfilled outside acting, because that keeps you going between all the auditions and all the rejections, and it makes that kind of even better when you do get those jobs, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's, you know, I graduated nearly 20 years ago, and I would say kind of the first 10 years were pretty bare. You know, I did work, but it was fairly few and far between. And, you know, then over the last few years, it started to pick up, and I'm getting more and more kind of theatre work, which is nice, and is the way it should be. And then I guess on the flip side of that being, you know, with life as well, you know, I'm married and I've got a 4-year-old, and I also run my own kind of handyman business. So you know, when I'm not acting, I'm very, very busy. So you've not got too long to dwell on when you don't get a job and things like that. You're just kind of always on the go.
Yeah, I think you get used to it, don't you? And how to move on quickly and easily.
Yeah. And what would you say to anyone that's considering becoming an actor now? What advice would you give to younger yous, perhaps?
You've got to be thick-skinned, but also I think it's really important to know that you are a unique talent, and if you're not right for one job, that doesn't devalue you in any way. You just haven't got that job. And I've had auditions for jobs in the past that I was desperate for, that I wanted so much. I had an audition once for Mercury Theatre in Colchester to play a big part in a two-hander, again similar to this, that was a soldier from Burnley. I was a little bit too old, I was a tiny bit too old, but apart from that, I was perfect for this role. And it was written for me. Sandy Toksvig play called Bully Boy. It was absolutely perfect. And I didn't get it, and I was heartbroken. I was absolutely gutted. And then I ended up getting, and then when that play would have been on, I ended up getting an even better job. I ended up getting a job in doing Journey's End, which is a First World War play, in Ypres in Belgium during the bit. So we did it in Ypres to celebrate or mark the centenary of the Battle of Passchendaele, and I'm a big history buff, especially the First World War, and it was just an unbelievable job. And I wouldn't have got that if I'd have got Bully Boy. So, you know, there's always something round the corner. So if you don't get something, I mean, it is heartbreaking when it's something you really want, but something else will come on that's meant to be.
Yeah. What about you, Julia?
Similar, I suppose. Everything is meant to happen, part's meant to happen, and all that. But I suppose as well, just like take every opportunity as well, because you never know what things are going to lead to. Like, you know, a short film might win awards at festivals, or a play that might seem quite small might end up go to the Fringe, and that might go to the West End, or might go to New York. Like, you just don't know how things are going to snowball. So I think just take every opportunity and probably like keep up with as many skills as you can. So I feel like that's something I probably should have done. All the kind of like hobbies and skills that I did when I was younger, and now I feel like I've forgotten more. Or definitely need a lot of work to kind of take the rust off them, I guess.
Yeah. And do you have a preference to the sort of performing in theatre or film or telly?
I think they are different skills. The thing with the telly that I've done and the level of TV and work that I get and film work that I get, it tends to be 1 or 2 days on a project. So that is really nice and can be quite lucrative, especially for commercials and things like that. You know, you can just go in, do a job, come away with a few £1,000, job's a good one. Whereas with theatre, it's not as well paid, but it's a much longer commitment, and it's a different type of work. You know, when you're doing film work, it's a really collaborative experience, I find, and that's what I love about it, because the sound guy, the camera guy, the lighting guy, everybody's working together to make this image and this story, tell this story through images. Whereas with theatre, you know, it's just the 3 of us who are working on this basically, and then when we get into the theatre there'll be stage management as well. But then when the actual show goes on, you know, you've got a technician doing the lighting and the sound, but it's basically just us. And that's exciting, because that's when it's alive, and that's the beauty of the wonderful thing about theatre, is you're watching something that will never be repeated. It might be the same tomorrow, but it won't be the same, because we'll have had something different to eat, or you won't have said Bob in that one part, or you know, like, because every time you go to a theatre, it's a new, alive experience. Yeah.
And what about you, Juliet?
Yeah, they are just completely different. I mean, I've done a lot more theatre than I have film, but I think it's crazy because theatre feels a lot more realistic, which seems very strange to say, and it's something that I didn't think would be the case before I did any kind of filming. But with filming, it's so like stop-start, and you know, there's a camera in your face, and so many crew around you, as you say. But for theatre, like, yeah, it feels a lot more realistic, which is crazy, and you don't have to keep going back as well, and you don't do the same bit over and over again. Like, you live that life like continuously from start to finish, and you get through all those emotions, and those things come up like organically. Whereas in film, sometimes you kind of have to, it feels like you have to kind of manufacture them a little bit more, because you don't get the same like through flow, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I suppose it's stoppy started kind of stuff. Is it?
Yeah.
I've produced a short film, which did go on to win a little award actually, but only as a result of helping a mate produce a larger film, and I was just overwhelmed by the amount of technology that's involved in making a film. I almost felt as if the actors were kind of an add-on. I mean, that's a silly thing to say, because of course they weren't, but it was the technology and the AD and all the kind of stuff, and the hundreds of people that were involved. So I did try and do a short film with a couple of kids actually, and as mind you, even then I couldn't get it to fewer than 7 people, so that was kind of cool. I'm Nick Hennigan. This is Residence 104.4 FM. Flipping marvellous. We're also on BohemianBritain.com. I'm talking to Juliet Ibberson and Greg Snowden, who are appearing in a play called A Ghost of a Chance by me at the Tabard Theatre in Bath Road in Chiswick, London W4. We open next week, depending on, of course, when you're watching or listening to this. It's now the end of March 2025. People listen to this. This could be you. You know, you could be watched 10 years from now. It happens occasionally. You did Coronation Street as well, didn't you, Greg?
Yeah, I've done Corrie twice.
Yeah.
I had First one was one of my very first TV jobs, and was just playing a porter who carried somebody's bags, which was fine, good fun. But then the second one was a good scene, punched Tyrone in the face. So it was it was good fun. Yeah. But again, it's a TV. That kind of TV is completely different, because that's in a studio. So you know, a lot of filming is, well, again, just being in a studio is crazy, because everything is already built. All the sets are already built. All the lights are already there. So a lot of time when you're filming on a student film or a short film or even a feature film, you know, most of the time is taken up by building the set and dressing the set, which means, you know, putting all the props in places, and then the lighting can take forever, and then you'll do a couple of takes with, you know, you'll do a couple of takes from one angle, and then they'll have to move everything to do a couple of takes from another angle. But doing Corrie and doing Emmerdale is not like that at all. So we were doing, I remember doing a film, this was actually on Emmerdale, I was doing a scene on Emmerdale, and we were, you know, working away, and then I just saw the assistant director do this, and then a picture on the wall just raised up, and there was a camera behind it, and that was the angle that they were going to do next. So it's all built to do these scenes and these locations as quickly as possible. And just bang, bang, bang.
Isn't that the term for it, isn't it? Fast turnaround
Yeah,
TV,
yeah.
I think they call it.
One of the actors I was working with, I'll never forget this as well. So he was an older actor. He'd been in TV for donkey's years. So they send you the script a couple of weeks in advance, and I had this script, and I'd learned my 4 lines, and I'd gone through them and memorised them and knew what I was doing with them. And he turned up, and he had not looked at his script. He had not looked at it. And the director was calm as a cucumber, and the actor, he opened this script, and we read the scene. I think there was 3 of us. We read the scene, and he didn't take his eyes off the page. And then we read it again, and he just looked down as he was saying his lines, and then he put it away. And then we did the 3rd take, and he knew his lines.
Wow.
He looked at it once,
Season pro.
and he knew it. But that's seasoned pro, yeah. Somebody who does it every day. It's amazing.
Have you got any, I suppose, a technique, isn't it, that you learn? Have you got any funny stories? What would your favourite acting story be? Oh.
That's happened to us? Or,
yeah. Well, but yeah, or either, actually. Because, I mean, people are always in awe of actors, really, aren't they? The fact that like normal people are always quite in awe of actors. And, of course, there's always, I suppose, the funny stories that go around.
You are funny. I'll give you a good name drop.
Yeah.
You like a good name drop, Nick?
Oh yeah, I
I
keep telling Cameron McIntosh that I've got it. Yeah, he keeps going, Nick, stop name dropping, will you? And I'm going, no, it doesn't matter, Cam. The Prime Minister keeps telling me the same. Anyway, sorry, mate, you were saying.
So I did the biggest thing I've done by far in theatre, by a very, very long way, was working on Jerusalem with Sir Mark Rylance. And I understudied Mackenzie Crook, so I never actually got to go on. But when you're understudying, usually you'll have an understudy run, which is not a public performance, but basically, so you'll have your show will open, but then your understudies will keep rehearsing, and then when a few weeks into the show, they do an understudy run, which basically just makes sure that the understudies know all their lines and know the blocking. So if they have to go on an emergency, they're ready to just go. So we had our understudy run for Jerusalem, and it was probably the biggest day of my life, because I was going to be on stage opposite Mark Rylance, and it was and in a play that I've loved for years. I saw it in previews at the Royal Court the first time round, and I've always loved it. Anyway, it was crazy. So they're playing Ginger. So Mark Rylance, the play starts, and it's Mark Rylance for the first kind of 2 or 3 minutes, and then I come on, and it's just me and him for the first 10-15 minutes. It's just our scene. So I was shaking like a pooing poodle. and I came on, and you do this rap to start, and I came on and I did this big rap in his face, and he was just like, because obviously he's only ever done it with Mackenzie Crook, and so he's done it 500 times in the same way, and I've obviously did it different. So we very quickly got over that. Anyway, we did the first act, which is, an hour and a half, not just me and him, all the other characters and everything, an hour and a half maybe for the first act. And then the curtains came down, and it was just unbelievable. And he just walked up to me, and he put his hand on my shoulder, and he went, "That took some balls, that," and then walked off. So there you go. That's my name drop.
That's a pretty good one. Have you got a name drop, Juliet?
I don't think I have really. No.
Yeah.
I'm afraid not. Not
Mark,
yet.
Mark Rylance once said, "Get out of the way!" to me. I don't know, that was in a theatre, a theatre thing. And of course, the play, in a sense, is about someone who's slightly down on their luck. And I'm kind of reluctant to talk about politics because everyone talks about politics and it's all kind of going all over the place. But how important generally do you think is theatre for the politics of a country or for the political advancement perhaps? And is theatre still relevant or is it all television and little screens now? Little smartphones?
What a big question. I mean, yeah, I'd definitely say that theatre is still relevant as long as people can have access to it. You know, if every theatre ticket is £200 plus, then, you know, maybe it isn't as relevant to everyone. But I think if everyone can have access to it and goes to it still, then yeah, I think it can. And you can say things through theatre that you can't say things in other ways.
Yeah, I think it's like I think one of the issues we're facing at the moment in like big West End theatre is that because tickets are so expensive, people want to see stars, and it just feels a bit at the minute. There was just a cast breakdown came out for a show at the Old Vic, and everybody was a name, every single person in it, 20 actors in it, and they were all famous, and you're like, how can anybody break through into a scene when everybody's got to be famous?
Yeah, and it kind of changes the reason why people make theatre as well. Like, you know, it's got a commercial lens, and everything they're doing, they're thinking about bums on seats and what's going to get people in, and what people are going to, you know, what to come and see, which obviously is important, but that's going to change the kind of stories that people tell if they don't think it's going to be as popular.
Yeah, I think it does kind of, it doesn't help like grassroots and like you're saying, political issues and things like that to be representative. You know, we say just doing the classics, but you know, the classics are important, but you know, if we're just doing the Seagull with famous people in it time and time again, it kind of, you know, that's not going to help the politics of a country, I don't think.
And more importantly, politically, Juliet, how's Greg? He's your stage dad.
Oh, he's great. He's a great dad.
How's Juliet as your daughter?
As my daughter, she's wonderful. As a 1,000-year-old entity.
What are we going to say then? I thought you were
That's
a monster, yeah. Yeah, it does get a bit dark in places, isn't it?
No, but that's it. And I think it's nice to be doing something that hopefully people will be excited by and interested in. I think it's a different play to a lot of things I've done in the past. I think it's quite not unique, but it is certainly got a Nick Hennigan twist to it, which is a very good thing. I think I think it's not like your typical stage play.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely surprise people, won't it?
Yeah, that's very, very kind of you to say, yes. And of course, I will mention that we've won a couple of awards in the past. One through the National Theatre, sponsored by Guinness, which is very popular. You may know the Maverick Theatre Company spends a lot of time in pubs, only performing, of course. But yes, it happened, and we drank a lot of Guinness a few years ago. And so this is going to run for 3 weeks in London at the Tabard Theatre. What plans for after that? Which is always a horrible thing to talk about with actors when you've come to the end of the rehearsal period before we actually go into the theatre. But what plans for after The Ghost?
I'm going on holiday in August. That's what my plan is. I'm going on holiday. What do you do?
I'm going on a tour over summer, but I can't name it yet because it's not been announced. But yeah, should be fun to outdoor venues. So pray for me that it doesn't rain too much this summer.
Yeah, well, I think you're both doing brilliantly well. I'm bound to say that anyway. Clever actors. And thank you for doing this. And we'll probably finish now with a little bit of spooky music from Ghost of a Chance, written by Rob Williams, who, not that Robbie Williams, it's not that one. It's my one. You've heard him before. And this is the theme tune from A Ghost of a Chance. Thank you both very much for your time. We're on bohemianbritain.com in a vision. And of course, we're on the wireless on Resonance 104.4 FM. But here's a bit of Rob. The theme from A Ghost of a Chance by Rob Williams. And if you're about, it'd be nice to see you. Ghost of a Chance is running at the Tabard Theatre from the 3rd of April to the 19th of April, I think. The Saturday, might be the 18th of April. I should be there most nights anyway, so if you do pop along, say, "All right, Nick." Although you don't need to use that accent, of course. And I hope it goes well. And thanks very much again to Greg Snowden and Juliet Ibberson. I love them. I mean, they're both so smart. And even if the script lets them down, their performances are shining and marvellous. So I might see you at the Tabard Theatre, Chiswick W4. And if not, I'll see you next time, because we've run out of time now. Thank you very much for your attention. As always, if you want to get in touch, you could get me Nick at bohemianbritain.com, N-I-C-K, Nick at bohemianbritain.com. Or, of course, radio at mavericktheatre.co.uk, radio at mavericktheatre.co.uk. So get in touch if you've got anything happening. And that's it. I'll see you next time. Thanks very much for your time. I'm Nick Hennigan. This is Literary London, not only on bohemianbritain.com, but chiefly on Resonance 104.4 FM.